We'll come to order. It is Wednesday, July 12th, 2023, 1:30 in the afternoon. Kerr County Court is now in session in a budget workshop. First item on the agenda to talk about wage adjustments. That's in the notebook under what, salary?
It's under.
Increase?
No, increase request. Yes, salary increase request
Third tab in my notebook.
or special request. Have different.
Yeah.
Judge, I think it might be good to start out, say where we are at on our latest update. I mean, because I don't like it. And I don't think anybody's sitting up here likes the bottom line right now.
Okay, so let's go back and do a brief recap of where we are with the budget today. Everything, all the input that we've received today. If you look down here, we now have a budget that is up to $57.3 million, with 17 million of that being deficit. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that's where we are.
And, well, for the public out there, you know, that's, what, about 10 million over what last year's was.
That's,
Bond's thrown in there.
that's true. We had to put some of that bond stuff in there. The budget that I recommended was just a hair under 50 million. And that included
Right.
the entire
The start.
$7.5 billion from the animal control facility is in there. And another almost 1.5 million of ARPA funds that are not designated yet is in there. And this budget also includes, if you look up at Fund 22, the flood control, that's something we keep talking about. We've got it on this budget at 1.2 million. That's something that we want to do with grants, as I understand it. And we're probably not going to spend that money this year. And then if you look at the ARPA funds it's in that requested for 23-24 non-recurring major expenditures in the middle of the page, and it's under American Rescue Plan Act.
Right.
You'll see $1.523 million. That is not designated, which is built into this budget at this point. So that's pretty much the recap. And we still have some major issues to determine.
Right. I just thought it helped give the public a little.
I agree.
And the major issues are included in these totals.
They are?
Preliminary, yes.
Which items are?
The sheriff's request totals in there, the road and bridge total is in there, and then the 5% that the judge had requested for the wage adjustment, all of those are in there. The new hire requests have been included in this. All the capital projects are included in this, and the special requests are included in this. And keep in mind, they're pretty much estimates right now. We need some guidance before we move on and actually start digging into the worksheets for the detail.
So let's go ahead and start with the salary increase request. That's that third tab in the notebook. And if you'll see there, we've summarized various scenarios. You'll recall my initial recommendation was for a 5% wage adjustment for Kerr County employees. And that was on the report of the high inflation rates, which do seem to be coming down somewhat these days. Looking at it this morning, they're actually projecting 3.5% for next month. But we also had discussions whether it's a 6% across the board wage adjustment or 7% or 8%. All those have been charted out there so you can see what it's going to cost.
Judge, what does PY stand for?
Prior year.
Prior year. So if you look at the box there, at the 2/3 of the way down the page, you see the 5%, 6%, 7%, 8%, and its impact. And then below that, we have the estimated payroll cost and the retirement. And if you look at that retirement, the retirement part of it at 14.84%, which is what PCRDS is now, that's where we are. And within the guidelines, we can actually reduce that down to 14.02. And what that would do is make a difference of $148,000 that we could shave off this year's budget. And that's money that we keep as part of the retirement. And then behind that will be the special request. And you can see HR. And then we've got the Sheriff's Department Special Operations Division Deputy to Administrative Sergeant, cost for that. Then Animal Services for Deputy Constable to Assistant Director. And then you can see JP Precinct 2, JP Precinct 4, County Clerk, which is a senior clerk. Then we've got County Clerk. One's an OPR clerk and the other's a CCL clerk. And then we've got the County Treasurer and the Ag Barn Maintenance and Supervisor, then the County Engineer, and the intern. And that's what we built in the budget.
So, I mean, there's really minimal new employees. It's basically reshuffling and giving some employees more responsibilities.
These are the special requests, not the new hires. The new hires on another page.
Okay.
New hires are the next tab. So we're just going through these again are the special requests and salaries requests. And then the third page, Danny, what's this? I forget, the third page shows the difference between the base and the proposed.
This is for road and bridge.
So that's a
Oh, that's Road and Bridge, Kelly.
Road and bridge.
Yeah, so this is their special request. Kelly explained some of it the other day. This is a summary.
Would you like me to re-explain?
Pardon?
Would you like for me to re-explain?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. We had proposed to the court that we would freeze 15 positions, road maintenance tech positions, to bring up the CDL holders' pay. I know that the court wasn't real sure if they really wanted us to do an actual freeze, that we'd have to come back to the court to fill those positions. I have no problem not putting anybody in those positions. I mean, it's hard enough just trying to find people who want to work. But there'd be no impact on our budget. We don't want to lose those positions, and perhaps there will come a time that we will need to fill those 3 positions, but we're not actually asking for more money. We're just going to take 3 road maintenance tech positions, which are our lower positions, and not hiring 3 of them in order to cover the cost.
And use the money for those 3 positions to increase the existing staff that you have.
Yes.
CDL drivers,
Yes, sir.
right?
And so for budget purposes, if you're gonna do a freeze, we're gonna need to take those positions out of the budget. If they're in, you will be adding
That's true.
approximately $141,000 to cover that, and that's rolled up.
And on my rough calculations, the additional payments through the end of the year for your CDL driver
Mhm.
came out The 1,000 a month divided by 160 came to $6.25 an hour. Are they gonna be making that, is this built in, that increase, or is their pay gonna be going down after the first of the year? After the first,
No, I think their pay will go up.
it's gonna go up still?
Mhm.
I mean, I'm just, that's a $6.25 jump in wages, seems like a lot.
It's
From
two,
what-
it's like taking a 15 position and bringing it to a 17.
So it's about a 10% increase, I believe, Rosa. I'm kind of looking at you, you did your worksheet, I reviewed it. The 15 to 17 is a 10% increase. So per hour, I don't think it would equate to the six, did you say 6.25 an hour?
Well, I just took 1,000 divided by 160. Is it 160 hours in a month? Or 500 divided by 80?
Okay.
And that's 625. It just seems, you know, I don't want to get in a situation where all of a sudden the paychecks get less, which I think we may have created that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the end of the one that's going on right now, that stipend, I mean, that, they know that that was just a temporary thing. Their pay will not stay at that. They know that going into the new fiscal year, whether the court decides to do this with the 3 positions or not, they know that it's just, it was a set amount.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's really my question.
Yes.
Do they understand that
They do.
their paychecks are likely going to decrease even with all the increases we're trying to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
But if they go back to without that stipend, their paycheck will be bigger.
Okay.
So they understand that.
Okay. Any other discussion about the road bridge here? Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the sheriff's office. If you look at the next, we got the emergency responder request. We've got the totals for the final salary, and then we've got requesting an increase of 20%. You see how that quantifies out there. And then you've got the 20% plus the other 5% increase at all the employees.
And so the amount that's in the 25% plus, or the plus 25% roll-ups, the 1.5 million there,
Right.
is what was added to the budget that you're looking at today, the summary.
Was additional revenue added for some of the, whatever the
Senate Bill 22.
Senate Bill 22 and some of the Lone Star funding, isn't that also offsetting part of that?
No,
Lone Star.
I don't believe it is.
It has not been added to the budget, not knowing if we're gonna get that grant or not at this point and what it's gonna look like. The grant may not be available until February. We may not be.
I think we'll be able to apply in October, and we'll see when it's funded.
Right.
So,
It's still way up in
It's-
the air. It's been all over our listserv saying, what does it really mean? Is it gonna start? Are they gonna backdate it? It's still kind of early to tell. There is, local government code 1110106 says that the county auditor or the county judge shall certify the commissioner's court the receipt of all public or private grant or aid money that is available for disbursement in a fiscal year but not included in the budget for that fiscal year. On certification, the court shall adopt a special budget for the limited purpose of spending the grant or aid money for its intended purpose. So that's what we've been bringing, like Operation Lone Star and Operation Stone Garden in afterward. It's up to y'all, and I guess we could add the 500,000 now to offset that. Just know that it's not,
it's not here yet.
Not here.
It's not here, but it's coming.
we don't know if it's gonna be prorated, is it not?
No. it won't be prorated. You know, when I can get to y'all with more information, I'm going to see the sheriff. Buddy Mills is the president of the Sheriff Association. He's the one that's put this together. I mean, I can get you those answers. It's coming. I know that's hard to say, but as far as when, is it going to be in November, October, November, or January? But it's coming, you know. In addition to that, also, you know, we have the other $275,000 for both DA's offices, and I think Jason worked up the total will be like 1.3 million if both DA's offices, the county attorney, and us put in for it.
The thing about it is, though, my understanding is it's going to work as a grant. And so it's not just going to be able to come into Kerr County and stay in Kerr County. It has to still follow being spent on what
Sure,
it
correct,
is.
yes,
And
correct.
so putting it in the budget right now worries me, because generally grants, it doesn't come in until you've identified it one-on-one. So again, I'm not trying to negate anything what he's saying. I'm just trying to say there's still a lot that's up in the air. So the county attorney, I don't believe, asked for any additional funds. I don't believe the DA did. I think one of them asked for $1,000 for insurance or something. So adding theirs with not knowing enough right now and knowing how grants work, you have to make sure you supplement, not supplant local county funds. And so that's kind of what my concern is putting it in the budget right now without it. But I don't believe it's gonna be left over for anybody to use for what it, just in getting out a purpose and actually request it.
So I'll just worry about my office. It's $500,000, and I can do whatever I want with it with y'all's approval. I'm willing to give it towards these salary increases.
And it's 5 or?
500,000.
Mechanically, how do we do that?
Well, how about we'll come back with you with a plan at a later date.
Well, I'm
It
listening
would
to
probably
that
need,
local government code section that you were citing. Can we create a special budget on the anticipation that this is all going to come to fruition?
can I think about it?
Oh, no, you can't think about it.
And the other question while you're thinking is, I don't believe the DAs and the county attorney have asked for any kind of large scale salary increases, but can the 5% across the board salary increase be paid for out of those funds?
And that's another great question, because if you've got a across the board raise, can you say except for these positions? And I don't, that's more of probably a talking to Heather question.
No, that's something that I figured out.
There may be a way, if you want to know what else on my mind, which you probably don't, but there's probably a way even to go into the ARPA possibly to say the 5% is for retention and, recruitment and that type of thing, and adding to that. But I've got to have a final amount, more idea, before we move forward with the detail of that, because it's a little bit harder than it sounds.
The downside of the ARPA funds, though, that's kind of a one-off. We're talking about employees and salary, they don't go away. So we're just kicking that pain down the road for the years.
It's a way of using the money that's there that is the easiest way to spend the ARPA funds, that is going to be the least questioned, is my understanding from GrantWorks. And so, again, you could still do it as some type, even with the 500,000 that the sheriff is talking about, do it as a stipend, because again, they're promising we're getting it for 2 years. I believe we're getting it for 2 years. What's gonna happen after 2 years?
Well, now, it's perpetual. There's nothing about 2 years. It's to go until legislature takes action. Jason.
So the bill was written with no sunset.
Okay, we need to get the conversation.
So when we had the discussion, and Tanya was on that phone call, and Heather was in on that phone call also. Buddy Mills and the Sheriff Association, this is the Rural Sheriff's Assistance Program, Salary Assistance Program. He was really heavily involved, so they wrote the bill as what he described as a perpetual bill. So the bill's been funded for the biennium, so we've got funding for 2 years. The bill will continue to fund continuously each legislative session unless there's an action by a legislature or the lieutenant governor. So they actually have to file a bill to take the funding away. So if they don't do that, then it will just automatically refund again in the next legislative session. When you read the bill, there's no sunset attached to it.
Well, that answers the question as to the availability of those funds.
So I think this first year is going to be there's going to be a lot of questions, obviously. Talking to Sheriff Mills, they are currently meeting in the process of trying to streamline this process to make it as simple as possible. They've discussed a form as simple as a checkbox form. Originally, they looked at giving the comptroller's office till January to figure out the process, but according to Sheriff Mills, it looks like that's going to be expedited a little quicker to where maybe we can file for it this fall. When you read the bill, it's pretty simple qualifications. It's based on population size. It's for counties with a population of less than 300,000. It's tiered, so the maximum amount of 500,000 is based on population. It's from a population of 50,000 up to 300,000. Luckily, Kerr County has 51,000 residents, so we sneaked in right above that for the maximum amount. The expenses, basically what this program was written for, was to raise salaries for sheriff's departments that have low salaries. Once you meet those minimum guidelines, which we do, then those salaries can be used for hiring new people, increases of salaries, and of course purchasing equipment and stuff if you need to be. And it's pretty simplistic when you read the bill. So we have high hopes. I think once we get through the initial procedure process, I think next year's budget cycle will hopefully go real smoothly.
Well, I'm having difficulty figuring out how to do this. And the sheriff's office problem is a little bit more straightforward and maybe easier to solve than it is for the prosecutors. We've got 3 prosecutors' offices, and we have funds available, $275,000 per office.
So
That's over $800,000.
So their guidelines are a little bit different than sheriff's department
I understand that.
when you read the bill. And it's up to their department heads whether they want to apply for this grant funding or not. So we're just saying it's available for their use, if they choose to apply for it.
But as the county judge and the chief budget officer for the county, I'm trying to figure out how to deal with this. Let's talk about the prosecutors for a minute. Come back to sheriff's department, because I think yours is a little bit easier. But on the prosecutor's department, we've gone over their proposed budgets, and we're not going to budget for them to spend any of this money that's going to be coming in.
Yes, sir.
And we're not showing any income in the budget, and we're not showing any the expenses for the additional employees or the raises that these people are going to conceivably get. And so, when the money comes and it's not in the budget, how are we going to spend it? And I'm looking at the auditor.
Yeah,
And you need
so
I need to check
I
there too.
would, can I make a suggestion and we like move away from this and just say, thank you, y'all are saying that you want these salaries, you're willing to put the 500,000 or whatever, however it ends up being, and we will figure it out if y'all are okay with what they're saying, and we will make it work once the rules get here further, be it stipend, be it whatever, be it we add it to the salaries later, do it it may turn out that that's about 400,000 off the top of my head that would be coming out of what's in here right now, with the thought that 400,000 would go back in once we get the new one, the new grant, and we receive the money. And just say we can work it out later if y'all are good with that.
And I think what we're hoping that time we had the phone call with Sheriff Mills was the sheriff will be going to the sheriff's conference in a couple of weeks, and they're supposed to have a class or a training on that. And I'm hoping hopefully Sheriff Mills by that time will have a lot more answers, because there's going to be a lot of sheriffs with lots of questions. So,
And I understand all of this. But the problem is, we're going to have to finalize the budget, and we're going to have to set a tax rate as these things are occurring.
yes, sir.
And so I'm trying to figure out, how do we go ahead and provide this? And so that people understand what we're really talking about here. Senate Bill 22 provides for, and I'm just going to use anecdotally how it applies to us. I'm not trying to get into the theory of it for the other counties. Our sheriff's office, our sheriff's KCSO, we get $500,000. And in order to fund this incentive program for your first responders, you're willing to commit those funds for that purpose.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we'll figure out we'll try to figure out how we can get that done. But we have to put the $400,000 income or $500,000 income somehow into the budget so that it doesn't look like we're raising it this much. And it's a lot more straightforward with y'all than it is with the prosecutors, because I'm not sure how that was gonna work.
I don't think the prosecutor is gonna work to that full amount. I don't see how.
So the good thing about the
because-
prosecutors is when you read the section under the prosecutor section, it talks nothing about increasing salaries for prosecutors. It can be used for hiring, like an assistant district attorney. You can use it for hiring a new position if they request one. Or I believe there's even some victim services positions. So it's more geared to hiring positions and increasing current staff salaries. So there is a little different refinement from what the sheriff's department side of that bill is.
And so this SB 22 is going to fund sometimes either this fall or first of the year, something like
Yes,
that.
sir.
And we're gonna have 3 prosecutors' office that cumulatively bring in a little over $800,000.
If they choose to.
If they choose,
If they
it
choose.
may not fit.
It may not fit, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that fit them.
They don't want additional, for example, if that money has to be used for new employees, and we're not giving them new employees, we're not getting the money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, once we know what the grant really is, and if they come back at that time and say they need a new employee, they could ask for the grant for the new employee, even if it doesn't happen, my guess is until later on, toward the end of the next fiscal year.
But then we go to, basically said, what happens when the money's gone?
Right,
In this program.
is it perpetual as well?
Yes, the whole bill's written in basic, as Sheriff Mills described, perpetual, which means
And so that the public understands, when you use the term perpetual, this is to be the law not only for this biennium, but until the next legislature, it's still be in effect, and the legislature after that.
unless
Until they pass a bill to do away with it.
to do away with it, yes, sir.
Or way to fund it.
There may be other things to think about too. One of the reasons I'm saying we may need to consider it being a stipend, because if it goes in as part of their salary, then whatever wage adjustments are in the next years, you're gonna be building on that amount that's going toward their salary, and I'm just throwing that out there. And so again, there's nothing, I just need more time to think about it, but we can work it out. And so to me, I would say leave out 500,000, however we need to do it, bring it back in once we get the grant and see how it's gonna work at that time.
Just, can we go back to the sheet for a second? I just have a couple of questions. I'm at the summary sheet.
And that's budget summary, that's first tab in the notebook.
When I'm looking down on it, I'm looking under the total request for 23, 24. I see under courthouse security, 312,000. And right below that, I see ARPA at 1,523,000. Cannot the ARPA funds be used for courthouse security?
They can, these are bailiff positions, or the majority of what you're seeing in courthouse security.
Oh, that's not, okay, that's not that's not a security system. Thank you.
Personnel?
It's a personnel item, okay.
You'll find capital under non-reoccurring.
Well, it is right now, but we could,
Well, you're saying that the 312,000 was intended to be personnel.
right.
Yes.
That's what we paid the sheriff's office to provide.
Right. And the other question I have is the opioid settlement fund. We budgeted there's 315,000.
That was the original amount that we should be receiving from the settlement of the lawsuit. We've received about 68,000 so far. That's there in case we get the rest of the money. Due to us, we'll have that money ready to spend. But that's got several specific reasons it can be used for.
So that's just money, I guess what I'm looking at is in that 57,300,000 number, there's a couple of what ifs.
Exactly.
I mean, we don't know that 350,000 is gonna be an expenditure, and we don't, the ARPA funds, you know, may or may not. So it's, okay, I understand.
Okay.
Okay. So getting back to where we were with the sheriff's request of emergency responders. The request is for first responders to get the 5% wage adjustment that all Kerr County employees get, plus 20%.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And that's, if I'm reading this correct, Ms. Shelton, that's a little over $8 million.
Total salary.
Yeah, that's
Still
total.
close.
The first column is just your total salary.
Right. And then what's the second column?
The next column is the amount of the request. So just the 20% is, we needed that pulled in because the 5% is in a different figure from your budget.
Right.
And so we needed just the effect of the 20%.
And so that 1.54 million, that is tell me what that figure represents.
That is what the increase will be for them with the 5% wage adjustment and the 20% that has been requested.
Well, I want to use different terms. We've got wage adjustments. That's the across the board that every employee gets, and I recommend 5% on it. I got that. What we're really talking about over here is the first responders recruited and retained incentive program, right?
Yes, sir.
So we're taking the 5%, which is the wage adjustment, and then we're putting the incentive, 20% on top of that. And that totals out to 1.54
With the roll-ups,
with the roll-ups.
yes, basically.
And what the sheriff's telling us, I'm just trying to make sure the public understands what we're doing here, that the money he's gonna get from SB 22 is gonna offset against that 1.54 million.
Yes, sir.
Good, okay.
Basically account for about.
Third.
And as to the prosecutors, that is TBD.
If it fits.
Yeah, we're gonna have to determine what we're gonna do. Okay, anything else that we have here under special salary increase request? We got Bill Ragsdale, $3,000.
Yeah, all of that's in your summary,
Yeah, and we've got all of that included.
yes.
So, do we need to talk about JP4?
It's up to you, that's the 12, or the 1,500 that's being requested.
Okay. And then we've got HR request,
It's the very first line, about 2,400.
right? And then we've got the title reclassifications for Special Operations Division Deputy to the Administrative Sergeant.
That's
from
about,
KCSO.
yeah, that's about 12,300.
Now this is, I'm inviting comment and questions. Anybody have anything they want to ask about that? Then the next one is the KCSO, that's the Administrative Sergeant.
I think you just said that one. Maybe a new-
That one may be a new hire judge.
No, I think that's the same one. What we're asking for is a new patrol deputy, new corrections officer.
And I think that we're going to a new position.
So, I'm sorry, call that out again. I'm only showing one sheriff's office
Correct.
on this special request, which was the 12,300.
That's it, that's it.
We may have something filed out of order, is what I was thinking, but
Yeah, you talking about the request, reclassification for special operations division deputy?
That's the 12,000.
Right.
And then we've got it filed here, and I don't know if this is a new position, but it is for a supervisor SOD captain.
No, sir. That's last year.
I'm being
That's
replaced.
last year. Yeah. Unless you want to give me another one, that's Jason.
Okay.
We just had one
It's just
reclassification.
tab, and if it's
we'll
not out,
pull
we'll
that out.
recast it.
Sorry.
I'll take it.
News.
I'll take it.
They want some bad news.
If that's included in there, we can take another 100,000 out.
And then we've got an HR reclassification of the existing position
Yeah,
for
that's-
environmental health and animal services.
Animal services, deputy constable to an assistant director.
Right.
That's showing on here is about 5,800, however, Reagan just turned up something in and we're going down about 5% on that. He's changed the grading step on that.
Well, just so you're aware, the position, well, I mentioned assistant director in there, but I basically reclassified that as basically a senior deputy with direct supervision over 5 animal control officers and 1 other deputy, mainly in the field and times like that. But I think that that's more appropriate for the situation, and so we dropped it down to down 1 grade. So it's going to be less than.
That's good.
That's all good.
We'd like to go in that direction.
Thank you. And then we've got the county clerk's office, we've got the senior deputy clerk OPR.
Yes, and on these positions will be split 80-20, so 80% comes out of general fund, and then the other 20% is going to be out of Fund 41, I believe it is.
And they're reclassifications. There's 2 that are presently out of 17, but I'm taking 2 of the 4 that are listed from the 15 to the 17.
Yeah. And one of them is the OPR, the other one is the CCAL.
Yes.
Right? Okay. And
And I think it was.
then you've got the breakdown on how you're sharing salaries.
Yes. And I think it was a difference of 6,000, right?
I think, I have no opinion.
I think it was about 6,000. What was savings?
Total amount for you is about 7,600. For both of them.
And then we have the engineer, county engineer.
Yes. The last 2 on the separate sheet.
Okay. Any discussion about any of those positions?
I'm good with all those changes.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of them are, in my mind, merit increases, which we don't do merit increases, but we allow for moving up in positions, and that's what these are.
So in terms of
I'm good with the position.
wage adjustments and staff reclassification, that's what we just completed, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We may need to take a look at a 3% cost of living increase. Well, we've made an assumption that 5% is the minimum, and then we're going up to 8%.
Well, I think we need to look at, I agree we need to look at that, but we need to look at the ARPA one. I think there's some big ticket items like that flood, that 1.2 million.
Right.
I think we need to put 100,000, 200,000 there.
That's the placeholder.
That's $1 million,
By the
right?
study.
Yeah, get it moving.
Without a doubt.
But we're not gonna spend that money this year. And then I think there's, we look at the, we have included, as we said, maybe 1.388 for ARPA, but we have no, it's not necessary for any project, so let's see what we can do on that. So,
I think we can use those up on some of the other increases that we have. That's the objective.
right. So,
And with regard to the wage adjustment, the schedules that I put in there was just to show we can go down or we can go up when we want.
Yeah. I agree with Commissioner Paces that, there's no way that
Well, last year,
8% needs to be audited. We can go
We ain't looking at
3,
that.
4, 5. Look at that,
just
maybe
briefly
next time.
recap. Last year, we gave a 5% wage adjustment when inflation was running a little bit over 8%. That's what we did last year. When I prepared my proposed budget and I put the 5% in, we were still looking at much higher inflation rates than what we're seeing today. What I was reading this morning is that what the Fed has done is working, but it's not time to take victory lap. So it looks like we're beginning to get inflation under control. So what do we do this year? This is a swing year. But the rate is coming down. Now, at gas pump and at H&B, I don't see it, okay? It says
Right.
code now.
Well, everybody in this room and everybody watching, all our constituents as well as us, which we can still buy things at 2019 prices. You know, Kelly, how much of road materials gone up since then? 100% on a lot of them, almost.
I don't know if it's quite 100%.
But it's up there.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
It's higher than we've ever seen that.
the fuel, we know.
Yeah.
You know, Sheriff Department can tell us
Bullets.
about how many, yeah, without a doubt, he can tell me how many gallons, how many miles he's gonna put in, and
Yes.
approximate how many gallons, but what's that gonna cost him?
A lot, you know, a lot.
Yeah. You don't know.
We increased, pricing.
I would like to leave the 5% in, rerun the numbers after, make some other adjustments, and when we get to the capital items, there's another.
Like I said, I'd just like to see what a 3% was.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's where we go right now, but
Well, monitor the process of elimination. Is everyone okay with leaving 5% in for the time being, and run some other models? So what models do we run? We want to run
3 to
less,
5.
That's lower.
3, 4, 5.
Do we keep 8 in? Do we keep 7 in?
I wouldn't be voting for him.
you can leave them in if you want, but.
I'm gonna do 7 and 8. 6, I doubt we can get there. I'd like to be able to do 6, but I don't think we can get there.
Well, why don't we do 3, 4, 5, 6? We'll do those. We'll talk about this.
Got it.
Okay. Now we ought to be going to new positions. And that's the 4th tab. And those are summarized on the first page there. And on the new positions with the 5% wage adjustment, we're looking at increasing $206,130. And that is a kennel tech, animal services, a patrol deputy, corrections officer, and a collections clerk in the district court's office. That's all district court committee.
I'll text her.
It's okay. Any discussion on any of those positions?
Personally, I'm good to do part-time jobs, because
Okay.
Sheriff,
Yes, sir.
this goes into another
Yes, it does.
issue. Patrol deputy and a corrections officer. Can you go over why we need both of those?
Okay, one, the patrol is really,
At the end of that, go over Ingram.
oh, that'd be 4
Because I
more.
think that does impact.
That's 4 more, Jonathan. Patrol deputy, as you know, they were funded for 6 positions. That's sergeant, corporal, 4 deputies. We currently are down to just 5, and we have 4. We're running 4, sometimes 3. Just people are taking off at summer, but we are funded for 6. Okay, but that's with 4 positions. The calls are increasing, Jonathan. I mean, you know, we're just, the county continues to grow. We sit here and talk about these subdivisions and more people. I know it's slowly coming up, but our calls of service are increasing. Obviously, we'll talk about that other subject later. Our mental health transports are increasing. You know, pretty much today, you know, one of my biggest, I guess, complaints against sheriff's office is response time. You know, we try to do the best we can. We as far as patrol, they're not doing any proactive work today. It's all reactive, answering the calls and stuff like that, and following up. You know, what my vision, what a deputy should be doing, he should be in the subdivisions out there being seen, talking to people, you know, more community policing. I know that, you know, we hope to get to that point someday. They should be out there working traffic in the school zones and being seen, stuff like that. But right now, today, when we're running 3 and 4 guys, I mean, it's pretty tough, you know, Jonathan. So answering,
I'm all for more patrol deputies. I believe you, but I just don't want to leave money on the table. I mean, if you can't fill the positions, you're already down.
Well, depending on what y'all do, I've got a waiting line right now. I can fill them, you know, give it to me today, I can fill them next month, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's not gonna be a problem at all. We won't go through this anymore. And, yeah, we won't talk. And then, you know, we talk about hiring, it costs $1,000 a person for me to hire them. Outfit them with a vest is another $1,500. You know, I just had a guy quit. I mean, they don't even get their vest, some of them quit before that. You know, it all comes down to salaries. I mean, it's the price of doing business. You know, they have a lot invested in them. But if we get this, you know, if you all approve that, there's not gonna be anything to worry about, I can assure you that, for a long time.
What about corrections?
Yeah.
Officer?
Correction, we want to increase the jail, but what I've done in the jail to help kind of recruiting and morale is I've created a unit. Y'all approved it last year, kind of agreed to verbally to do one corrections officer last year and this year. What I did is I created a new unit in there that can kind of take the slack. I'm sending guys from there to the patrol school. Okay, I've just got 2 out. I got 2 in. I got 2 more going. I'm trying not to take anybody off the floor because we're already shorthanded. I think we have 5 positions there today. Okay, I know I'm asking for stuff and I can't fill them, but depending on what y'all do, I'll be able to fill them easily. But what I'm doing, I created another unit in there that can kind of help both patrol and the jail. Today we got a murder trial going up here. I got 3 guys here. Is these guys can now be able to transport the prisoners, because these guys are going to be eventually, I'm going to get them through the school, this correctional position. Last year that guy's in the school is going to get out pretty quick. These 2 guys will be deputies assigned to the jail. What can I do with that? When we go to the hospital in San Antonio, it requires a deputy. They can do that. They can also take prisoners to the hospital or doctor as needed. They can come over here and do courthouse security. There's so many other assets. They can do transports. We go every Friday to take prisoners. Don't want to say wherever I'm in, to a certain location to be getting put on the chain. So I'm creating this little 3-man unit. I'm 1 man away, this guy, from being fully staffed to be able to do what we can do, and also do some of the transports where I can take off my warrant deputies. Right now they're traveling all over the United States and stuff like that. So there's just an array, several things to do, but then they can also fall back into jail and work the jail.
Okay. Ingram.
Okay. Okay.
Let me start out. My idea is that I'm talking to you several times. You're having increased calls in Ingram, increased investigations in Ingram just because of the lack of a local police force in Ingram.
So the added deputy, it'll help for that, obviously. We're talking about a whole new kind of little police department. That's the one I submitted. I'll need four deputies and an investigator. I told you about a couple of weeks ago in Commissioner's Court, I tried to keep you updated in Ingram. Like I said, answering a call, a suspicious vehicle, open door, I don't like doing it, but we do it, okay? Because when you do a sexual assault child case, you know what, my captain briefed me this morning, we got 40 hours in that case. That's 40 hours we're taking from other stuff they should be doing about violations and laws out in the county, okay? But you ask about Ingram, I don't know, you know what I mean? I can just tell you if they fold, we're going to need 4 deputies. I mean,
What's their staffing right now?
Well, I'm not supposed to discuss that out loud. It's
Not talking about it.
yes, we can talk later, but
Here's
pretty low.
But it really is public information. Tell them that, I'm not going to do that.
Oh,
right now.
yeah, you can feel free. I can't tell you how many complaints last night I had. Cannot tell you how many complaints last night. We had 250 people out there. What do I tell them? Sorry. Nothing I can do about it. We're just going to answer your calls for free.
How about, we do it. Can we put these positions in the budget, but put a hold on them until we find out if we're definitely going to get the 500,000? Is there a way to do that, Shane?
No.
So if we're not gonna be using their 20% raises for the special raise requests, the 500,000 for the 20%, we're gonna be using it for these positions?
So, what I'm saying is that we put them in the budget, but we don't authorize the expenditure of those funds until we get that revenue coming in, so we don't get hit.
Oh, I see.
Double. We don't get, something happens and SB 22 doesn't happen.
Right.
A little bit of protection, fill these 2 positions right.
It's already happened, it's signed into law, it's just, we don't know for sure.
When it's gonna be
get
funded.
there, or when we're gonna get there.
Or what the details are.
Well, this is what we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Same issue. Just
Yeah, same issue.
coming at from that direction, but we're putting these positions in the budget. We do not have income to support paying those positions. So we're betting on the come. Right. That we're going to get money. That's what we're doing.
This is the same as Kelly. It's the same thing, what I'm saying, the same as what Kelly's doing her part, where you're putting them in the budget, but you're just freezing the hiring of them. It doesn't.
So just so I'm making sure I'm understanding, Jonathan, you don't mean the 2 at the top that have been requested, you're talking about the 5 positions for Ingram?
No, I'm talking about the
patrol deputy
The
and
corrections
corrections.
officer.
Okay. ARPA would also cover those, just FYI, new positions.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's the same thing. To me, I don't mind the positions, I think you need the positions, but I want to figure out how to fund them with that, outside of the general fund, if possible, and to make sure we are going to get the SB 22 money.
Well, if we look at the new hire request schedule that we've got in the notebook here, and we can go ahead and accept the 2 part-time positions.
Right.
All we're looking at is patrol deputy and the corrections officer.
Yes, sir.
Now, we are talking about Ingram. That's 5 other officers. 4 deputies.
That's
and a
completely
investigator,
separate.
right?
If and when that happens.
Well, but I think what the auditor's telling us is that we can use our ARPA funds probably on these new hire positions.
Or on the increases, or we can use them on staff for retention and recruitment. ARPA funds can be used for that purpose.
So that's how we're trying to fund the requested incentive program and the new hires that KCSO is asking for. Probably with the ARPA funds.
And/or the 500,000.
And
Yes.
SB 22.
Okay.
I mean, we're sticking them together with Bailey Wire Bubble.
Yes.
We're getting there.
Well, I don't want to leave Ingram yet.
Well, before we get that, Jonathan, like we talked about last year, my vision, I want to get my patrol staff up to 7. We really need 7, because when we have 7, we're at 6 or 5. I mean, that's just the way it is with people taking off. So I kind of verbally told you last year, I'd like to add 1 position for 5 years. Year 1 was last year, this is year 2. I mean, yeah, it's going to take me a long time. This has nothing to do with it. This is just getting up where we can take care of this county. Judges, you know, you'd like to have 2 on the west side. Well, there's thousands and thousands of other people who like to have 2 on the west side. So my 1 west side is now split between the west side and Ingram. I mean, we're just going backwards.
I agree, you need the position, I'm just trying to.
Right, I know, find a way to fund it, but that's my vision, 7, and now we talk about Ingram.
Okay.
Well, my point I was trying to make is the city of Ingram is getting the short end of the stick for what they
Or paying for it,
money
yes, sir.
for. You're getting the short end of the stick because you didn't budget for covering all of that they can't
It's
cover.
hard to swallow, yes.
You didn't budget for it last year. So
Oh,
what's up with it?
you're gonna run me out of here, I'll come and ask you for forecasting and, you know, investigator.
I know. And so we're all getting the short end of the stick. Oh, yeah.
But
Well, the insult to injury is that Ingram is sitting there with that money in their bank account.
I know.
Not spending it on things that we're having to spend it for because they're not spending their money.
And those are questions I was asked last night, I'm just not there, I don't know where it's at.
But I think that we need to approach Ingram, I don't know if we're ready. I mean, you know, I hate to set the.
We've had interlocal agreements, they owe us money for years, they don't pay. The agreement with them is worthless. It's true.
They are current, I believe, the sheriff got that money.
I did get $24,000 for dispatch services for 2 years. I did get that.
Let's call the press.
I'm sure it'll be out tomorrow.
That's good news.
No, we did, I'm sorry we didn't share that with you.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, kind of.
But we need to try.
They haven't paid for animal services
Think
forever.
about it,
Right.
they're unincorporated, they're still taxpayers, and we're gonna have to provide coverage, right? I mean,
For all practical purposes, and I'm not talking about the difference between de facto, meaning just that's the fact situation on the ground,
Right.
versus de jure, meaning the law. For all practical purposes, Ingram has unincorporated.
Well, but to your point,
well,
if
they're still
they,
paying, they're paying taxes to the city, and they're paying taxes to the county, but I'm talking about the people.
That's right.
And that's the
Right.
problem.
Well, you know,
if they unincorporate, that population hub is gonna have to be, the services for that are gonna be paid for by everybody else in the county.
Correct.
That's what happened right today.
But yeah, it's.
Right, so I'm saying, you know, I'd rather try to get something than nothing that we're getting right
I'm not
now.
disagreeing with it, but
well, they're asking the sheriff, and correct me if I'm wrong, Larry, to enforce their city ordinance. We're not gonna do that.
Yeah, I got several phone calls this weekend at 9 o'clock at night, but we are not, you know, going to enforce their city ordinances, you know,
Okay, we're agenda off track.
Okay.
That's probably an agenda item.
Yeah, 50.
Well, I want to wrap up these new hires.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, next week, let's go to airport. So Mary's here.
City 116, tab 16.
And this is only to discuss what they have requested from the county, specifically the projects to fund, not their budget. Their budget is passed.
So this is under Fund 16 capital projects?
Yes, 16 capital is the first page.
Okay,
I will say that
first item.
a couple of, I know there's items here that Mary can go over some things, but I did meet with the city a little bit ago. And there is already an adjustment in the works that I think Mary, I don't know if it's in here, the newest one, the 25,000. Anyway, there was some balance in the city owes us some money over some project from this year. That's being put in here. I don't know if it's in the most recent handout. Just not ready to shake the head. And the other thing that I believe, and we need to get the best estimate for the reserves at the airport. And those reserves, I don't know what it is, 3 months, 6 months, whatever that's in our interlocal agreement. Anything above the minimum required under our interlocal agreement needs to go to pay for some of these projects. So, anyway, that's just two things. They have a reserve fund and they could probably fund some of these smaller items outside of the city and the county having done. But those are two general things that kind of increase that I met with the city today a little bit about trying to do this. It should lower these numbers a little bit.
So what we have in the budget for them is the county moving $393,750 from general fund into the capital project fund for the airport projects.
Where is that?
It is on page 1 of 16, that's in the revenue part, 16,390,015.
Do you mind if I have got a handout that's just, that have all the stuff on? Okay.
No, second page, yeah.
Yeah, I guess if it's, I just want to make sure we're all, it's just part of it on the bottom.
Yeah.
2024, y'all got it? Okay. I wasn't sure what y'all had for handouts, but that's,
And then on the third page in there, you'll see we got $393,750 for the match for the current year. And then we have $54,000 that's still left over in projects that has already been funded at the county level.
Where's that?
We don't have those two pages.
I don't see it.
All I have is the,
It's gonna be the second to last page, and it's 16,688,200.
It's $447,750 is the total amount. Have you got it? Okay.
That's it.
okay. Mary, why don't you go over quickly, I guess,
yeah, I'd
the
be,
projects.
sure enough.
This is
And
on the
I,
first page.
yeah, I'm just gonna have you take a look at the description of the FY 2024, which is the total up to the 393,750. That list of projects is what we're focusing on. So the first one we have is the airport planning study. It was at Monday's meeting. I missed Monday's meeting, so it's been now next week or 2 weeks from now. We'll be getting the airport planning study fund approved from y'all. TxDOT is funding $225,000. We had requested the money in last year's budget. That would be $12,500 for the city and the county. That's already in our budget. We're just asking it to roll over because we think we'll probably be paying that check in December. So that's no new funding. So that's just money that's going to roll over from last year to this year as the project's moved on. The second one is our pavement management program. That's the big TxDOT program where they're going to be restriping and slurry sealing the runways. We've already paid our share of that. The rest of the funds is all from TxDOT. So we're not asking for any new funding from the city or the county. That's been paid. It will be implemented hopefully I hope by next spring, early summer, please, please, please. Anyway, so that's on, engineers are underway, they're getting all the packages put together, so we hope to see those guys out there next spring, next summer. The third thing is the land purchase of the RPZ area, which we discussed at our airport annual meeting. This is a request of $350,000 from the county and the city. This is funding that we're working with TxDOT Aviation on, and they have the ability to reimburse us for that, but it won't occur until their fiscal year 2026, so call it 2027. So this is a grant that we're going to be working closely with them. We've already started working with them on the acquisition process. So that's the big number. The next one is one of the requirements for us to get reimbursed is this environmental assessment, which is called a NEPA. Again, that is I'm going to get my lines across correct. Again, it's a 90-10 funding. In other words, the county share of that would be $12,500 this year to make sure we got both of those fundings going along hand in hand with the acquisition process and make sure we can get our funding done. New item, I think we talked about at our annual meeting, was our weather station, which is called an AWAS. Can't to find out after me complaining about it enough, but it's probably one of the older systems in the TxDOT system. They said I'm one of the older ones and I've been on a list to get replaced. So I'm like, thank goodness, I sure want that too. So good, so I got them in my court as well. So we're including that AWAS system. That's an 80-20, so again, TxDOT will pay for 80% of it. We city and the county would need to pay for 20 of it. So that's why that's the $31,000. The last piece is then some rollover items from the previous year. So we've got the box hanger utility site work, that's EIC and county money. We've spent that all but $23,000 of that work already. So that's all that's getting rolled over to this year. We have done a fire protection study in fiscal year 2023. We recognize now we have needs and development things that we need to put together for our proposed development areas. Again, we're taking some of the funding that we know we had from our airport funds to fund that development area study, and that's $64,000. Same with our needs and assessment for assessing all of our different properties that we have. Again, that's rollover funding that we've had from the last year that was allocated towards either our hangar project, which is complete and fully leased, or from one of our other projects that are then rolling over, and we'll be funding those as well.
What, either Mary or Tanya, what's the estimated reserve balance at the end of this fiscal year?
Yeah. For them, I don't know, because I haven't looked at the estimated at the end of the year for them.
Well, I'm trying to remember last time we talked about it. We'll get that number for you.
My thought is that if we could fund certainly the 12.5 for each city and county, for AWAS, out of that amount,
Okay.
that would come out of the budget, and if there's enough in there to, the AWAS is 31,250. The NEPA study is 12.5, and the AWAS, if those could come out of the
Reserve funds. Okay.
that would be preferable in my mind.
Okay, we'll take a look at it. I'll work with Hilda and our board members next week, and we'll get that discussed.
And so you can get back to us on that.
Yes, I'll need to make sure I have the money to do it. I assume I do, but I'll make sure our guys are on board, if that makes
So,
sense.
well, basically what we're doing at the airport, it becomes almost a non-monetary event. The reason we're rolling over funds that we've already provided.
And the money to purchase the
And then using
RPZ.
reserve for the other expenses that we would normally fund.
What about the
The 350 would be, but we'd be
The land
getting,
is the
the
big
land
one.
is the
The
big
other amount's
number,
pretty
but we'd
much-
be getting it back after, once this all goes through, we'd be getting it back in 2027.
We get it back.
Is the
Not-
land purchase still on or not? It's on.
So then the 393,750 becomes 300 and even 350,000. As far as what the transfer is for the capital projects.
Yeah,
for
as long
next
as
year.
the reserves of the airport can handle
Yeah.
the rest of the smaller items.
Smaller items.
Okay.
I'll take a look at that.
And then that 350 is,
And
It hurts, but the fact that we're gonna get the majority of it back.
Yeah.
It's 54 acres at the end of the main roadway.
And I believe it's gonna take 2 years to get the 350,000.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
they said fiscal year 2026. Again, we're shaking out the trees as much as we can. I've started working directly with the TxDOT real estate folks and making sure we got everything queued up. I don't want to miss a step here in the beginning which would keep us from getting the funding later, which is why
But this is
I it.
That property's been eyed for forever, and the opportunity's out there to acquire it, and, until we have it, under contract,
Right.
it's a little bit up in the air, but it looks like, I did meet with the developer, and you know, it was a real rich, shook his hand. They appear to be wanting to work with us. They understand the process is that TxDOT will hire appraisers, and that will be the price. So, and then there's a subdivision that will go in behind that they will be presented at some point. Okay.
Okay, anything else on the airport?
That's it for me. I'll work with Ilda and Tanya and we'll see what we can come up with and we'll report back.
All right.
Not on the airport, but also in capital projects for Fund 16 is 75,000, and that's for the Hill Country Youth Event Center. It can only be used under certain conditions. This was a part of the contract extension that we signed with them, and so this money can be used. We've got it in the budget to spend, but that's normal, and it still hasn't been spent. So just FYI, that money is there.
And the discussions in the past have been a new sign. But
There's another, I think, 75,000 in it, Jonathan, if we sign the second extension, which will be sometime maybe within the next year.
that'll be coming, that'll need to be negotiated.
Okay.
And that's done. More, but yeah, there is talk about that, of trying to get the money and and they're looking at changing the terms a little bit so there's not a callback provision on the funds.
The next topic on the agenda, thank you, Mary.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much.
Judge, sorry. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Capital budget request.
Going back to the front of the budget,
So, but real quickly, Fund 17 is also in there, and that's only for the animal control facility.
So now we're going to capital outlay.
Yes, now we need a capital outlay.
I
We're
wanna take a little
projected
break
to have
before we get to
5.6
that one,
million remaining to be spent.
Let's take a 5-minute break and we'll start back there.
Next.
We'll come back to order. Next topic is capital budget request.
So the
That's
summary
under
that
capital
y'all,
outlay.
yeah, the summary that you see in front of you is going to be the request from general fund and road and bridge.
IT sure is expensive.
No kidding.
The, Bruce, your projects, I mean, forgetting the last one, the 166,000, the rebuild, the disaster recovery, and the backup system. Those are one-time expenditures, essentially?
There are pieces of the backup system that are recurring after a certain period. It is like maintenance fees.
How much, all of that amount is,
No,
how
no.
much of it is not reoccurring?
All right.
I mean, rough number.
Rough numbers.
Percentage?
You speak to that too? I mean,
Absolutely. So, hardware's a one-time fee. The recurring fee you're looking at is for the warranty, which is roughly $34,000. That's keeping everything under support. That's also including that on a 3-year warranty, so it's every 3 years. It's not annual. And then the other part of it is going to be on your data protection to keep your data stored, protected, and also run your DR that you do not have today. So if your servers or hosts were to go down, you can spin everything up within minutes on the backup server that would be housed at another location in case something happened to where the location that was there ransomware or power or hardware failures, you would be able to get the county back on.
So what's that dollar amount for that part?
It's $367,000 every 3 years. And that's based on the current storage today is 225 terabytes of data. It's a ton of data. There's not a lot of solutions that you can look at that does terabytes without one enterprise. And that's where we are today.
Thank you. My recollection is, I visited the office a little bit about this, that the road and bridge, those lease rates, or interest rates on those are pretty high. Whereas another option would be for us to do a certificate of obligation for the bulk of this. Have you looked at that?
It would technically be a limited tax note.
Well, limited tax.
And same difference basically, and the interest rate would be about 4.5, and that's really rough. And we did it for, I believe you can do limited tax notes up to 70 years. Now, if you're talking about IT and everything's gonna roll over and you're gonna need it again after 3 years, we probably need to structure that to where that part is only paid with the 3-year note.
Right. But it seems the road and bridge. Well, the road and bridge, it would make more sense. Now, I mean, a lease versus a note is the same thing. If we can lower the interest payments substantially.
So how much do we save? Do we have an estimate?
Let me interject something here, and I visited with Kelly a little bit yesterday, and you know, we just made wage adjustments for her department, and I think that's the most important thing for out there. And we discussed it, and it doesn't matter how many new toys you have out there, if you don't have people to run them, and that's more important. I suggest we back off some of these capital outlay, and I'd asked Kelly yesterday to try to get a priority list. Do you have one?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go up. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
The top sheet is today, and the bottom sheet is what I brought on June 29th for the first budget workshop. So what we did, we totally took out the Atnar chip spreader, which that's a $434,503.43 piece of equipment. We put them kind of in the order of necessity. So obviously the dump trucks, there's 6 of them. That's our top one, and then you go into the oil distributor. What we did is we gave you on the top sheet for today's date, we gave you the purchase price and what it would cost. With the chip spreader removed, it's $1,815,766, and on the 29th, it was $2,250,269.43. Over on the box over to the right of the purchase price, we had got some 5-year leasing numbers from the vendors, and it would be a 5-year note, and you can kind of just go across, and it kind of shows you where it would be for a year.
Do you know what the interest rate is on that note?
I do not.
It was around 8.5 when we ran it from the information given the other day.
So, and then at the very bottom, we've got that $140,580. That's the 8 trucks that we currently have, supervisor trucks and a shop truck. And so that's a 5-year lease, and we're in it right now. So that's the annual number that we'll be locked into for probably about 4.5 more years. So that's the number on that. And if you did do the lease, I think you could probably get a better deal from what Tanya gave numbers on. With having the chip spreader out of there, that total annual payment would be $589, $450.80 if you did a lease. So, and like I said, I had them when I talked to Commissioner Harris. I told him that I would ask the guys to kind of rate them of what they want to make sure that we can get, and just kind of step down on that. So if you look at the far left, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4. Atnar was 5, so the Caterpillar 926 wheel loader become the new 5.
Okay, so the dump truck's number 1 and the oil distributor number 2.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes,
Now I'm
sir.
looking at it right. And so out of those, you eliminated chip spreader, and then the next one on the lip chopping block, if you had to, would be the wheel loader,
Yes.
$250,000 almost.
What is, looking into your crystal ball, what's next year look like?
As far as equipment,
Yeah, if you didn't take anything off of this, but you got everything you originally asked for, what's on the list for next year?
well, I know when we spoke with the judge for the current fiscal year, and kind of had told him our predicament and our equipment and the age of the equipment. We had told him that if we stayed at a steady clip, and this year we got $1,056,000, we actually were able to purchase a couple more things because we got a better price on things, that we could probably get through our list in surplus or trade in probably in about 4 years. So this would be year 2.
And I totally agree with your approach last year. This is a different year. And I still think we need to work with it, but looking at what we got going so far. If we took off that wheel loader, would that automatically probably be at the top of your list next year?
Yeah, and the chip spreader would be there too.
Yeah.
I just hate kicking the can down the road on stuff like this. I I mean, it looks to me like you're, I mean, we can save, based on the interest rate that we discussed in the auditor's office, you know, probably looking at $150,000 in interest by doing it notes, as opposed to maybe probably close to 200,000, right there. Yeah, that's, you know, it's darn as possible will.
Right.
So roughly, that's what Gilda just handed out. So interest expense at 855 is about 523,000, and about 4.5. You can't, this really is apples and oranges to what I said a while ago about the limited tax note is about 266,000. So it would make more sense doing the tax note than it would using capital leasing.
And we've done that before, especially and you add the tax note, the non-recurring IT, and those are legitimate, at least 3-year expenditures.
We did a tax note, I think, when Brenda Doss was here, and it was through Wells Fargo.
We've done it before, and we did it in years like this when we were, it was tough. I mean, trying to make everything as meet. You gotta make sure you are planning a little bit better. That's why I almost hate to take too much off of the road. This rolls into next year, then rolls into next year. So I'd like to see kind of, one, your idea of taking off a couple of 2 big items or 1 big item. And the other one is if we did the 5-year leases to a 5-year tax note, and then 3-year on the IT stuff.
So
And
it's
this-
about, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it's about 500,000, 525,000, roughly somewhere around there. When I had called Dusty about it, and that's where I got the 4.5% interest rate, and I want to say that was about a 7-year maybe he ran, or 5-year. I don't recall that off the top of my head. So we can, if that's what you want to look at, I can put in a call to Dusty.
You talked to Dusty, I didn't. But when I talked to you, I was talking in terms of the 7-year.
Yes.
Well, that was my.
I think the road and bridge equipment, that's appropriate.
Yes. Yeah, IT, no.
I agree.
Yeah, IT ended up being a lot more of the 3-year, and when you and I talked, Judge, I didn't know it was 3-year. I thought it was
Sure.
more for putting the whole project together, would be a longer term.
So I'd like to, look at those options. I don't know if you can have them by Monday.
I don't know if I can either, but if I can, I will.
I will tell you, not that this was gonna take a huge number off, but like, on the chip spreader, we would trade in the current chip spreader that we have. So I don't have a price for a trade-in on it.
And that's not all your equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, even your beat up dump truck.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you've gone by our yard, if you look, as you're facing the front of the building, we have an area that we put the chips from cutting the trees. Well, there's a lot of equipment over there. And that equipment will either get traded in, or we've talked to Garrett Auction Service. We're gonna put it up on an auction, and we'll get some pretty good money for some of the stuff that's there. So we have decreased quite a bit of our inventory, even though I know everybody sees us getting new stuff, but we have gotten rid of already quite a bit of
Well, we
equipment.
kind of just get in a helicopter and go up 10,000 feet, get the big picture on this. We started off with a 4-year plan to replace all this, sometimes antiquated equipment. Some of that stuff was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so we're in year 2. We're talking about maybe doing a different financing method, but purchase a TAN or limited tax note rather than, still meet your needs.
Yes.
And we've got your priorities as to which, if any, of the selected items of equipment that you are looking to replace, you could live without this year.
Right, just want to look at the options.
We've got those options.
It could go to a 5-year plan instead of a 4-year plan. But we need to stick on a plan. I mean, we can't go backwards.
Well, we're meeting road and bridges needs, is what I'm pointing out. But we're trying to find a way to do that.
Yes.
A lot more than what we were doing the previous years.
Absolutely. Now, while we're talking about these financing vehicles, lease versus a limited tax note, we've got our tax assessor collector here. And this makes a difference when we go to compute tax rates. Tax rate's one of the things that I've been grumpy about. Still grumpy about.
We all.
That makes a difference.
So I was gonna ask Bob to explain to us, if he could go to the podium, just for us to keep this in our minds as we're making these decisions. And the driver, Bob, you need to kind of start with INS and M&O, make sure that everybody understands what we're talking about.
Okay. When you calculate the tax rate, we all know about the 3.5% voter approval rate, and that's on the maintenance and operation side of the coin. M&O. The debt rate always has to be paid, and while it wouldn't affect those like myself that don't have frozen homestead taxes or anything, in the big picture, as far as the check I write, you can distribute it better where you have more money for maintenance and operations by moving some of it to the debt service.
And INS is interest and
Sinking fund.
sinking fund. So if we finance it, that gets, it's treated differently in computing the tax rates
That's correct.
than if we put it in M&O. And lease has it in M&O.
That is correct.
If we move it over to, as a debt, and we have a limited tax note, then that would put it in the INS.
If it meets certain criteria, but the basic answer is yes. I believe Tanya and I talked the other day that if you move it to interest and sinking fund, or for the simple answer, debt, it's got to be secured by property taxes, not the equipment itself. And that's why you do a tax note. It's got to be longer than 1 year. And I forgot the other two criteria right now, but there's certain criteria. But what Tanya and I were talking the other day when we were playing with the numbers, that what you're proposing would meet all four of the criteria. As I said, it might not change what the individual writes the check for, but it gives more money available in the maintenance and operations, which is the hardest part that we're trying to meet.
But in this case, it's also a lot less interest.
That is correct.
So just to make sure I'm understanding what y'all have said, we're gonna go in and add the 496 for IT, 57,000, the 202,500. And then for road and bridge, we're going to head put back in the brush chipper and the brush truck for the 230,500. And then go ahead and add the 22.2 million for the rest of it. That's about 3.2 million. And then we're gonna put the IT to be paid off in 3 years and road and bridge to be paid off in 7 years.
I mean, that is the large number, a really large one. We kind of had said that we probably could live without, for this upcoming fiscal year, that Vermeer 1800 brush chipper and that F-750 brush truck. So we zeroed that out. Really, the more important ones are that one kind of in the middle of the page. So we could live without the ones that are up near the top, and like Tanya had said, it's 230,500 for those two pieces of equipment. So we had removed those, and I think we would be okay removing those. It's the ones in the middle that are.
Put the item back next year.
Probably, yeah. And anything that we don't get,
Yeah.
yeah, anything we don't
So,
get this year.
in looking at your chart, I want to make sure that I've got it right here. On the left-hand side, you have boxes indicating priorities.
Yes,
Right.
And you rank them 1 through 8.
yes.
And the two that you're willing to let go of first are the 7 and 8 priorities, which is the brush chipper and the brush truck.
Yes, sir.
And if we have to go farther in terms of what we can afford to provide you, then you have the priority 6 and priority 5 down there that you've discussed.
Yes, sir.
Now, as far as what we're asking Tanya to do, she's gonna put together the top 6,
Yes.
not the top 8, not the
Yes.
7 and 8.
I'd
Yes.
like to see this both ways, because if we're gonna have to do,
Derek.
if we're gonna have to do
I like
7 and 8 also.
That's what I was gonna.
Yeah, I'm more than happy for you to do all of them, but I mean, if we have to, those top 2, we definitely,
Well, I'd like to see it with us not buying priority 7 and 8. Then I'd like to see not buying priorities 5 and 6 too, to see where we are. I know, I'm sorry. It's just more work.
I may not be Monday.
I understand. But I think we're being creative and finding ways to meet the needs of the county, more economic.
Bottom line.
The practical effect is that if you're buying a whole bunch of stuff at once, and it all ages out at once. So to stagger what the purchases are and the replacements are makes sense to me.
Well, that's why we did a 4-year plan.
Right, right.
I understand that, but you're now eliminating equipment also. So that would help. But in the practical application of it, you got a mechanic working on this stuff all of it at once versus a few of them at a time.
well, and I think our idea when we had met with the judge is that our hope is to be either trading in or selling this equipment when it really has a lot of value still left in it. That's where we're gonna make up for some stuff instead of keeping it until it's hard to find parts for them and all of that. And we have some of that where there's value, but not a lot.
Well, Kelly, I appreciate you and your crew putting your heads together,
Yes, sir.
looking at this.
Yes, sir.
And just one last thing, there's a cost of issuance, is why it might be beneficial just to go for the 3.2 rather than the 3 million. I don't know where that break might be.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on the capital budget request? County policy review.
That's 3:30. That's 20 minutes.
Where do we find that one, Elder?
She's passing it out.
Okay, good. Mr. Davis?
Okay. All right, so on the general provisions, what I would like to discuss is actually on the page, we're gonna be touching page 2, 3, and 4. Okay? So on page 2, it's going to be number 4. And it's going to be to where maybe we may be able to start people at a step 3 instead of at a step 1 if they have the qualifications or years of service, to, one, attract people to come to work for us, give the discretion to the elected officials and department heads to be able to start them at that, I would call it more a range between 1 and 3, based on their experience or their education or combination of both, for better, to better attract them.
I think we've all been frustrated having to turn everybody to state points. So I think that's pretty much good. We understand that. What's the next one?
So the next one's gonna be on the overtime. It's gonna be on page 3, section 5. I believe I kind of broke that out. It's gonna be under law enforcement because we don't really practice it in lieu of payment. It really needs to read, let's see, either, let me put my glasses on. Either compensatory time or payment or a combination of both, because that's actually what we are doing.
So that's enacting the flexibility that we chose to exercise ourselves.
And Sheriff, you're familiar with all that.
Right.
I think that's a no-brainer.
Okay. So we're gonna go to page 4, on number 2. And this one, I wanted to note that it's actually gonna be, will be available at the discretion of the department head or elected official, about the compensatory time. Or we can say the compensatory time balance up to 60 hours will be available to use and must be used prior to using any paid time off to better manage the 60 hours or less. Because at the end of the fiscal year, there is sometimes a bigger balance to pay out. So that's something to look at as well.
And then with regard to the comp time, we cash all that out annually.
Right, and then,
Thank you.
yes, and we actually addressed that underneath, the next section is gonna be the compensatory time. There's a couple of revisions on that one too. It says, comp time balance exceeding 60 hours will be paid at the rate of 1.5 the employee's rate on the next pay cycle after the overage has been accrued. Comp time balance over 60 hours are required to be depleted prior to using paid time off. And then it says remaining comp time balance will be paid out on the 25th pay period of the fiscal year, because it used to say at the end of the last full pay period. We wanted to make that a little clearer.
And I don't know if this is gonna solve everything, but it's better than what we have. And we're learning how to tweak this.
Yes.
I'm good.
These are all good.
Okay, so there's
Questions
one,
back over here?
You can wait, I thought she was finished.
there's one last one, and it is, hours beyond the 171 hour will be paid compensatory time or payment. I think it should be, or paid, or combination of both, because that's what it's been practiced for the jail. I mean, for the sheriff's office. Because it does say like over the 171, unless the officer has worked more than 171 hours in a pay period, hours beyond the 171. It's just to be consistent with what we said above.
Explain this for me, Sheriff.
It's this one here.
What's the issue?
So the issue has been with payroll that
On the holiday time.
it's been a little bit inconsistent with what the policy, with the handbook says. Some parts of the policy says that you get any time over 171 hours, which is the 207K exempt employees in the sheriff's office. They get paid at the rate of 1.5. Another section says they get paid, that everyone gets paid comp time. So there's the regular employees, which is us who are not enforcement, who get paid comp time anything you work over 40 hours a week. And then the sheriff there's two different things that are contradictive. It says they get paid comp time at 1.5 time, and then it says anything over 171 hours, they get paid in payment. So this is to clear it up. I know some of their departments within the sheriff's office, some of their, what would I call them, the different units, like SO and SOD and CID, they have more of a discretion of how they pay their employees as far as if they tell them to come in and stay late, there'll be comp time, or they'll tell them, come and you get paid overtime at straight time. So this way it clears it up where they have more discretion at the sheriff's office to be able to pay it, and we are. Even though we're already doing it, it goes along with what is in the policy.
And it's already what we're already doing.
Is that wording not right though, is it? What's underlined? That doesn't make sense to me. It says.
I don't know.
Well, I got it highlighted, some of it looks like it's supposed to fade away, so can you read that last sentence just the way it should read?
Hours worked beyond the 171 hours will be paid comp time, payment, or a combination of both.
Yeah.
Why is it a combination of both? Because after 160 hours, which is what they're required to work, like the rest of us for 40 hours in the 28-hour period, they can be working comp time or they could have been paid straight time. So in order for, after 171, they get paid at the half rate and they get paid money. But it doesn't mean that they got paid the straight time at pay. They might have got it at comp time. So it has a combination.
So this last part of it that's highlighted, that last part of the sentence, that is supposed to be there?
That is supposed to be there.
Yes.
Okay, so you start off highlighted, it fades away, and then it comes back highlighted, so I'm trying to determine if you're taking something out of it.
No, it's
No, it was, yeah.
The word the or, where it
It
says.
should be comp time, payment, or a combination of
Yeah.
Yeah,
both.
that's
Not
or.
too many
First
ors.
A comma.
Yeah, you're right.
And above it also says it that way, we fix it that way as well.
Okay.
Question. Who decides which one they get? The employee
The
or the elected official?
the official and then his person.
Yes.
Is,
Well, I can explain to you right now how we operate. So a deputy works 12-hour shift. If he catches something after it, works 2 hours late, we normally give him comp time for that, okay? When we pay overtime is, if it's your day off and we call you in, whether it be storm or something important like that, that's kind of the termination I need. I mean, you know, the 2 hours comp time, yes, we have to deal with it, but if they get called in on a day off, any special event or anything like that, like the eclipse, which we'll talk about later, I mean, it's all hands on deck for 72 hours, okay? So like I said, if they're called in for any special function on their day off, I pay them, and I think that's the only right to pay them overtime.
I understand that part, but here's what I want to make sure of. If I'm going to call it a grieved employee, okay?
Yes, sir.
And I come to you and I say, I want to be paid rather than get comp time.
I tell them no.
Well, I want them to know that it's your discretion as to which one they get.
Yeah, I do
That's
it all the time, yes,
And we're
sir.
not clarifying that here. But it is the department head or elected official makes that determination. And
Yes, sir.
then HR enforces it.
because within the groups of the sheriff's office, they decide differently.
Correct.
I'm good with that. But I want to make sure that that employee knows, when he comes and asks you, if you say no, the answer's no.
I think what I was putting.
And I don't have to deal with it.
I haven't had one yet in 3 years, but yes.
Maybe we just need to add, depending on the, or up to this discretion of the elected official,
Yeah.
which is really only for the sheriff's office, not for
Okay.
other departments.
I want that employee to understand that the decision's going to be made and he's not the one making it. She's not the one making it.
He doesn't pay his regular employees money, it's just your 171. It's the 207K exempt employees.
Commission,
Yeah.
yeah, commission.
Clarify that line.
I'm
Yes.
good, I'm good with that. I just want, I want them to know what the answer is before they start arguing about it.
Kelly's chomping at the bit.
Well, no, I just wanted to say what we do is I just give them comp time, and if it's over 40, they get it at a 1.5 rate. So I don't pay out. Now, we did when the courthouse closed, and, you know, but that was under the judge's, direction. But it made me think when the sheriff talked about the eclipse,
Yes.
maybe some of these other events coming, those may be things, if, Road and Bridge is required to work, that it might benefit to pay on those, but the regular, we worked a little over on our guys, I go comp time, so it's time for time.
We have that in the policy, it's when like the ice storm that we paid, so it's already in the policy.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because I know at one time, I think I read where it said when the courthouse closed. And so there may be
So
some.
those are considered like emergency or as essential employees.
Okay.
So that's already in the policy, but it's not in this guidance.
Okay.
In this provision.
In all the eclipse, I don't know what would be the proper time. There was kind of some discussion of maybe saving $100,000 earmark it for the eclipse. I don't know when that time is, but I mean, that, I don't want that to come out of mind because we're going
I think it's a contingency.
Yes.
We're gonna save $100,000?
No. Say set aside. I don't know that, but
I was gonna say, if you can save us $100,000, we'll listen to it anytime.
But you know, that's kind of something I was going to mention to you at some point. I don't know what it's going to cost, but y'all also, we're all going to be out.
That's contingency.
Okay.
We all know that.
Maybe the issue's parking tickets. Generate offsetting costs.
Try to collect those things. Okay, any other county policies?
I have a question about going back to number 4. So are we supposed to go, and this is gonna get in the details a little bit, because there's a big difference, a 10% difference in the difference in a step 1 and a step 3. And so are we moving all of the step 1s up to a step 3 for new positions?
No.
It's discretionary by that department head and that elected official.
And so how
On
are
new
they?
hires.
On new hires only.
Not on ones that already been hired.
Okay,
A new
so
hire.
new hire, so you might have somebody that's a new hire that's gonna be paid more than an existing employee, because the new employees, if they come in at a 1, will stay there for 2 years. I'm just throwing out things to consider. And then how do we go about budgeting for that? Are we increasing the payroll contingency and they still have to come back? Do they have to have it in their own funds?
I
And
think they have to, I think it has to be in the HR file. I mean, they have to have justification in the HR file as to why they're bringing the person in at a higher than a step 1.
And it'd be
And
the
it could
department.
be, you know, military experience.
Yes.
Whatever, certain qualifications, but it's gotta be documented somewhere in the HR file. I don't think they all need to come to court. I think that the department heads, elected officials and HR can work on that.
The goal is for them not to come to court. But to answer your first question, if we've got somebody who's at a step 1, they're working for an elected official, they're working for a department head, and we adopt this policy when we approve this budget. If their supervisor, if their elected official wants to move them from a 1 to a 3, that's when we'd have to deal with it, right?
And I think
There may be some of those out there.
Yeah, there is a,
And if that's what we have to do to get people caught up with the updated policy manual, we understand.
but it's not, in my mind, it's not experience that they gained here, it's experience they had when they
bring
got
with
there.
them.
Yeah.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
okay, so at what point do they come in and talk to the auditor to say, I'm gonna need more money to make these moves? Because that has to be in, there's still gonna be budgetary considerations, because we're budgeting at new positions at the step 1. So indirectly, it'll be part of the budget adjustments, but at some point, they need to be telling us, right now, we've got $250,000 in payroll contingency. I don't think it'd be enough. I may be
I would
wrong.
say that it would be how many employees, I mean, HR could look back and see how many employees we have that are at step 1 or 2. And give us a rough idea of how many that are even maybe at risk, and then we just get some idea of what.
Okay.
I see it happen.
I don't think,
But it will happen.
yeah.
Well, but I'm still in favor of giving the discretion to the department head.
I agree.
When you're finding experienced people and bringing them in and not have to punish them, I said you gotta start at step 1.
But I think your point is, we probably need to increase contingency.
I agree. I know, I didn't go straight in and teach it, but I started out, as if I had 2 years experience already from a job.
Okay?
Can I clarify something again? Still the general provisions on page 4. Looks like there's 2 options.
Yeah, this one.
There's it's contradictory again within the policy and within the provisions. About comp time, it has a balance of, regular employees can have a balance up to 60 hours. That's us, that is 207K exempt employees. Now, it contradicts whether the department head has the discretion to decide if they should use it before PTO or not. And then another section says that they should use comp time before PTO. So that's the two different things. Should we leave it up to the department heads for them to have discretion of whether they should use comp time instead of PTO, or should it all be a rule that they need to use comp time before PTO?
I think they have to use comp time before PTO.
I agree, because that was the goal when we discussed all this stuff. We talked about it extensively. Trying to get use up the comp time before you go to PTO.
Okay, so that would be the option two, which comp time balances up to 60 hours will be available to use and must be used prior to using any paid time off.
Right. We're good.
Is there,
So that's option 2.
yes, is there a max also, because this only talks about regular employees, is there a max for the 207K exempt employees?
Uh,
A max.
Because of comp time.
To accumulate, like this one
To
here
approve
says
before it
60.
gets paid off, because it doesn't specify for the sheriff's,
I think it's,
If you're gonna determine that
should it,
the department head or elected official decides this, then they're not gonna be deciding anything with the cutoff point.
so should it be across the
It's
board?
automatic.
Everybody 60 hours max and it gets paid out after 60 hours.
I think so.
It has to be that. or
So we need to
nothing.
remove regular employees and use all employees.
Yeah, Bob, you got something to add?
During election time, my employees
Yeah, I know.
will go way over 60 hours before the election even happens. But they may have anticipated, I have one out on FMLA right now who had built up because of elections, a large amount of time to use for FMLA from the comp time. We'd had to pay her out beforehand. It was going to cost more than spreading it out over a normal time. The 60 hours, and I can only speak for my office, is a little short. I mean, I've got bookkeepers that y'all have seen them have to come in just in order to count the money.
Well, that sounds like what the sheriff's told us many times. So.
Well, I'm not near trying to equate my office with
But
the sheriff's.
It's just a matter of how much time
Right.
is owed to the employee and how they get compensated for it. That's all, that's the only comparison.
Yeah.
I think the original issue was when we started getting a limit on comp time, especially rollover comp time, was I think it's when you have an employee that accumulates a large amount and then quits. And then you're having to pay out several hundred hours of comp time if you're not making them burn it efficiently. I agree. I mean, my guys, we can roll 60 hours quickly. And especially if we get into a major event in September and they're already carrying 40 or 50 hours on the books, next thing you know, they're rolling 30 hours of comp time, and then you're automatically paying out over 60. I would kind of agree with Bob that 60 can be a difficult number, especially with our people. Now, as a supervisor, I do that. They have to burn comp time first. And if I see they have comp time on the books and they're burning PTO, I switch it over. I make sure they know they have to burn all their comp time up. Because I know with the issue we had last year, we ended up paying out quite a bit of comp time last year because we didn't have the rollover option
should we
last year.
Should we increase
increase
it?
it to 90 hours?
What y'all suggest?
Federal rule for the 207 is 480 hours can be put into comp time. You know, you're still gonna look at having to do it, but it takes care of your issue indirectly. So I don't know if you have different,
But if that person
That's
quits,
480 annually?
Yeah.
you're
Is
gonna
that an
pay them
annual
one way or
number?
another.
The issue is, we gotta manage it. If somebody somebody runs their comp time up for whatever reasons and then decide they want to resign their position, then the county will be liable if they have to. If they have a couple hundred hours on the books of comp time because there's not a maximum amount of management. Like, I hate to see 400 hours on the books on somebody that's worked for the county for a long time. Or what they're gonna do is they're gonna try to start padding their comp time up to the point where they're getting close to retirement, because they're gonna want an additional payout above their 160. So, if they have 160 of PTO on the book, so it needs to be limited, but I think 60 is
Well,
kind of difficult.
is 90 a good number?
90 is more manageable,
Well,
or whatever equivalent to.
I'm looking more at HR. Is 60 an arbitrary number that we just picked out of the air?
I think so. Because for regular employees, per the DOL, it's 240.
It's 240.
What's the 480 number again?
It's for the 207K
207K.
exempt law enforcement.
For law enforcement
Law
only.
enforcement.
And that's 480 hours per annum, per
Accrued.
quarter, or
Accrued.
A year.
A year.
annually?
And so that's when you have to start paying out.
Yes.
We can roll over up to a maximum amount, but above a certain amount, you have to start paying out.
So that's legally binding,
Mhm.
that part. So that one you can't mess with. So on this other one, we can go to 90 if we want to, we can go to 73 if we want to. Okay.
But I think we can set it for anything lower because you're still paying them out. Is that correct, Rosa? Like you could set, even though it's 480 as the federal law, you could say it was whatever number the sheriff's office would want.
Well, I'm saying, the 60 came in, it was an arbitrary number, because at one point, we were having huge comp time pay that we had to pay out several times in repairing. So, my recollection is that was an arbitrary number. If we need to go to 90, I don't think it's a difference, because it's really only a couple of departments that it's really impact.
I believe it's an arbitrary number also. And as an arbitrary number, what I would like to see is HR to come back to us with a presentation of what that number ought to be. If we need to change the number, we can change the number. And now would be the time to do it. So why don't y'all look into that, we'll put together in another workshop, to see where we are. If we need to change it to 90 or 120 or whatever, we can do that.
Can we,
I like this.
look at it next Monday?
Next Monday.
And then
Okay.
ultimately, the main advantage for the county is what?
Not having huge comp time, we have to pay out.
Not to have to assume it later.
And not having to build up, they have to use it.
Yeah, the department heads can manage it better.
Judge,
That help?
I know you gotta go.
no, but you mentioned other things, and while we were talking, I guess Kendall County's in a budget workshop, and I got some, email or text from the commissioner. They're putting in a flood warning system, I think we're aware of, on Cypress Creek, which goes all the way to Kerrville. About probably a third of the way from Kerrville to the county line, they're putting a flood monitor gauge, and they would like us to pay half of the annual cost, which is $4,750. $4,750. I think they can come out of flood control, which is a dedicated fund.
We're wanting to low, maybe
We need to start
lower
doing
that
that.
anyway.
That's something that we can kick down the road.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting a gift. Kendall County's putting it in on our main, or one of our largest tributaries, the revolved. So I think it's money well spent to agree to spend $4,750 to them. And most of the time, whenever we do these deals with Kendall County, they never send us a bill, so we don't pay it. But that's a plus, but anyway.
The last thing I'm just checking out here is overall budget planning. Is there anything else we need to be talking about?
I just want to go over the timeline, just so everyone is aware. For the budget, we still have 3 budget workshops. That's July 17th on Monday at 9 a.m., July 31st, that's at 2 p.m., and if necessary, August 16th. And then just in general, July 17th, again, the 9 a.m. workshop with departments. July 31st, budget workshop at 2 p.m. to finalize proposed budget and discuss tax rate and tentatively approved proposed budget.
What day is it?
That- July 31st. I have August 10th, The proposed budget will be filed with the county clerk. August 14th, at that Commissioners Court, we are to set the date on the proposed budget, which has already been set for August 28th, but we have to set it publicly. Set the date of the public hearing on the proposed budget, which will also be August 28th. And also in the August 14th meeting, the designated officer or employee will submit the new no revenue and voter approval tax rate to the Commissioners Court. On August 16th, that's if necessary, the proposed budget workshop at 2 p.m., which will, if we didn't do it before, we'll finalize the proposed budget and discuss tax rate and tentatively approve proposed budget. On August 28th, it's the public hearing on the proposed budget. Vote to set salaries, expenses, and other allowances of all elected county and precinct officers. On August 28th as well, adoption of budget during the Commissioners Court, and the set proposed tax rate and date of proposed tax rate hearing, which will be on September 11th. September 11th, we have the public hearing on the proposed tax rate and the adoption of the tax rate during the Commissioners Court. A lot of dates.
What time on the 11th?
We got that sheet.
Yeah,
It doesn't have a time, it's a regular Commissioners Court date.
We've all got the sheet, but thank you for reminding us.
Yes.
We know we got a busy time.
And 17, can we go over the ARPA funds and what we can and can't use that money for, so we kind of really narrow it down to a,
I want to make sure I
So
get.
that's Monday,
I want to get the
Commissioner
shovel.
Mills? You want to go over the ARPA?
Schedule for that.
that's a big thing to, hopefully, do some of
Okay, Hilda, Ms. Shelton, we're going to talk about the ARPA funds on the 17th.
Okay.
Okay. That's a big item for us.
Okay, one thing that's a big item for us is all of this stuff that's up in the air. You've heard we have 3 workshops. There is a whole lot of detailed work that has to go on between now and the 31st. And so the sooner we know your wage adjustments, the sooner we know the plans, the better and longer we have to get it all put together. And so we're just requesting that y'all keep that in mind.
Is it possible, and I'm thinking it probably isn't, but is it possible to redo that summary sheet by Monday?
I would say no at this time, because what all are you want me to redo it with?
Well-
We were trying to get the departmental in and freeze it, and then move it to a separate, where y'all
And we
now
haven't
can
done
make any changes
We
that you
haven't made
want.
those decisions yet.
Yeah.
Right.
That's on us.
Yeah.
Right now, it's incremental changes, and there's so many of them out there. It's updating it is kind of like
I
why,
know.
because the big items
We
are still
understand.
up. Thank you.
We're sorry. We appreciate what you're doing.
Hey, keep pushing us if something gets overlooked.
Okay,
Does
8
it-
o'clock Monday night. You
does
can
it
go home
make-
if you're finished.
See, there's a big break workshop between next Monday, the 17th, and then the 31st. Does it make sense for us to add a workshop in between this? We need to get that summary sheet redone after taking out the 1 million for the flood control and changing to a tax note roughly. I mean, I can't vote or decide on a wage adjustment unless I know where we are.
Okay, so basically, here's where we are right now. You take out 3 million roughly in a tax note, and you take out 1.5 for ARPA. We're looking at needing about 6.3 million. So that puts us at, what I say, 3 and 1.5 at 4.5. So we're pretty close, ballparking it.
Another million on the floor.
And then 1 million on the other, thank you, I knew there was one more. So that's, we're talking about 5.5 now, we need 6.3. So that's more reasonable, so if we can do it based on estimates now.
Estimates are fine.
So that's kind of where we are. You're rounding it.
You knew what happened,
Okay.
down.
Oh, I went up adding what we found. We found the 1.5 for ARPA, 3 million for the tax, and $1 million for the flood.
Flood.
So that's 5.5. And to get to 25% is about $6.3 million.
That's what I was trying to figure out what 6 was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need 6.3, what's 6.3?
Yeah, 6.3 million would,
Got it.
in decrease in
Got it.
expenditures or finding revenues will get us to the 25% fund balance, which has always been our goal.
I still think another workshop might help in between those two.
Well, we can decide that on Monday.
Okay.
Good job.
The more we get ready for that, the less time we have to spend on all the detail stuff and getting the position scheduled.
Okay.
On the
Department Monday.
31st about tax rates, I can't guarantee much then because the appraisal district doesn't have to certify until the 25th.
I know.
And to be honest,
That's close, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Well, we're all in this train wreck together.
And Jonathan, by the 31st, we will have an updated schedule if we can get all of the big decisions done.
Okay. We're adjourned.
oh yeah.